He's the brightest and best-loved British star of the West End and Broadway. No surprise, this was the first prom to sell out. Welcome live to the Royal Albert Hall for an evening with Michael Ball. Joined on the prom stage by the BBC Concert Orchestra, Michael Ball will be with us during the interval of tonight's concert. Andrew Lloyd Webber will be here as well. So questions for either of them, please, by text to 83111 or by email, proms@bbc.co.uk. Joining me this evening here on BBC4, composer and cellist Zoe Martlew, and a man who is a bass player, as well as being an occasional Michael Ball lookalike, Dominic Seldis. Welcome to both of you.
Evening.
There's no doubt, Dom, Michael Ball is a great entertainer.
He's unbelievable. Sold quadrillions of albums, done thousands of performances on the West End stage, sells out national tours year in, year out. Now here at the Proms, this is unbelievably exciting, and the atmosphere in here is electric.
We know, Zoe, that this has been a controversial prom. What we can absolutely guarantee tonight is tune after tune after tune.
Absolutely. This is going to be a show-stonking, crowd-storming evening of some of the most famous songs ever written for stage and screen, sung by one of the biggest names in entertainment on the planet. You're in for a treat.
Well, we've a little bit of light classical coming up as well. We've Stephen Sondheim, we've music by Bernstein, music, of course, by Andrew Lloyd Webber, who we'll be hearing later. No surprise this sold out pretty much immediately, Dom, is it?
Absolutely not at all. He has the most amazing fan base, and they're very loyal, as you can hear.
Callum MacLeod, making his way to conduct the BBC Concert Orchestra and Capital Voices as we open this Proms evening with Michael Ball. What an evening it is here at the BBC Proms. We've reached the interval. We'll be talking live to Michael Ball very shortly. We'll also be meeting Alfie Boe, and we'll be introducing you to Laura Michelle Kelly, who'll be taking to the stage in part 2 of tonight's prom. And Andrew Lloyd Webber is here, so send texts or emails for any of our guests, 83111 text, proms@bbc.co.uk. Zoe Martlew and Dominic Seldis are both here with us this evening on BBC4. Are you enjoying yourself, Zoe?
Well, as you can see, the audience is beside themselves. It's the first time I've seen the bust of Henry Wood swathed in leopard skin lighting. I can't help but be drawn in by this man's charisma. It's extraordinary. He's fantastic at what he does.
He's been quite defensive, isn't he? I mean, we touched earlier on the fact that this has been a controversial prom in many ways. The doubters, I would have thought, losing the argument slightly because the place is so full and people are obviously having such a good time. But he's aware of that, isn't he?
He's so aware of it, and he actually said himself that he is not part of the opera world. He said it. It's very, very clear. And we have to remember that what he does best is music theatre. This isn't classical music. It's music theatre. It's a genre of its own, which he does marvellously. So the critics can go off somewhere else. I think he does a great job.
Quite right.
Dom, let's have a bit of CV from you of Michael Ball. Where did it all begin? How did he end up here at the Proms?
Well, born in Bromsgrove. Studied at Guildford School there, but when he started working, as he said, his first gig was with Godspell in Aberystwyth, then to Pirates of Penzance in Manchester, and then he hit the big time with Les Mis, Cameron Mackintosh's Les Miserables, then into Phantom of the Opera, and then came his big break into superstardom, which was Aspects of Love, and at that point it then took him on to do, what hasn't he done, I think is the best thing. We're talking television, radio, fantastic radio show, 2, I think, series of television shows. He sells out, not only here, is it any wonder, he could sell this place out 10 times over, whether it's a prom or not. You know, he draws crowds. In my research for this, I started asking what the attraction was, and especially to women. It seems that they like to mother him. He's got that kind of face. I suffer from the same thing, where they like to mother him, and then they go and procreate, and probably thinking of him whilst they're doing it, and then they teach their daughters to mother him as well.
Maybe not taking this too far down.
Okay, but the fact is, he's got an incredibly supportive fan base, and whether it's here or anywhere in his many tours that he's done, he'll sell the place out.
He's an entertainer. He's also a real pro. I mean, it was very interesting watching him in rehearsal this afternoon, determined to get everything right, but absolutely respecting the orchestra. I've seen people stardom like him come and treat orchestras really badly.
He was taking care of every single detail. He was making sure the musicians were happy, and he was running the show, but in a way that was full of fun. Everyone was laughing throughout the rehearsal. I was incredibly impressed. And by the way, the rehearsal went right up to the beginning of the show. It's amazing, the stamina of this man, and then goes on and is incredibly charismatic. He's a communicator above all, both to his colleagues and to the orchestra and to the audience. I'm very, very impressed.
Well, sorry, but let's just remind ourselves that this whole argument, which I have to say, I found myself getting rather annoyed with this whole thing, he shouldn't be here at the proms. I mean, what a load of rubbish. I thought you were quite right. The critics can stay at home. They're not here. I hope they're not here, because no doubt, if they were, well, I hope they put them in cheap seats. I hate all that stuff, where music is music, as far as I'm concerned. And an awful lot of the musicians on stage here tonight have probably also played in various other proper proms, and the place is full of wonderful musicians playing wonderful music, and I think that's that.
Let me just ask you before we let you go, and I want Zoe's input on this as well.
Yeah, you're talking too much.
This business of you being a Michael Ball lookalike, at
Yes.
first I thought, no way. But the more I look at you, I mean, all you need are a few highlights, a few more curls,
Yes.
and you're there.
What
Well,
I
the
want to
thing
know,
is-
Tom, do women want to mother you?
Well, the thing is, I don't have a choice about this boat race, but you have a choice as to whether you're going to wear that tie or not. Now, you know, we'll just leave it like that.
Good, thank you both very much
Thank you.
indeed. Let's go backstage. I'm sure there's a great atmosphere behind the scenes here at the Royal Albert Hall tonight. Let's join Angellica Bell.
There is a great atmosphere behind the scenes. I'm joined by one of the real rising stars of the West End stage. She shot to fame just over 2 years ago when she took the title role in the musical Mary Poppins, and tonight she's here as Michael Ball's special guest. She's going to be singing with him in the second half of the prom. It's Laura Michelle Kelly. Welcome to the Albert Hall.
Thank you very much.
What is it like having your debut here singing with Michael? Must be pretty
it's
scary.
absolutely incredible knowing that I'm doing my debut in the Proms, and it's a brilliant venue and it's fantastic, it's exciting, and the noise out there is brilliant, and yeah, it's all such a lot of fun. And
It's a great
singing with
energy, isn't it?
Michael's great too.
What's it like to perform with him?
Oh, it's so nice because he's such a nice friend, and he's. I think people love him because he's so open and honest. I think people can believe every word he says, and I think that's why they're all having such a great time tonight.
Yeah, everyone is really into it, and it's obvious that he's got a great charisma.
Yeah.
Clearly he can sing, but what is so unique about Michael Ball?
He's just such a nice guy, and he's got an incredible voice. I think it touches everybody. It surpasses generations, so that's, you know. And he's my friend. I love him. I think he's brilliant.
It's probably good that you know him, and then when you get up there,
I know,
there's a bond.
get a little bit of a wink between us. It's great.
Now, you're no novice to the West End. You sang in loads of musicals. What is so special about musical theatre for you?
I think for me, when you're singing something, it expresses an emotion in a completely elevated level. I think for me, that's what I experience when I'm singing, and that's what I get when I hear singing. So I like musicals for that reason, I suppose. It expresses something that words alone can't say.
And at the moment, you're starring in Lord of the Rings.
That's right.
How's
I
it
get
going?
to do my flying around on silks, and it's such great fun.
What
the
part do
cast
you
are
play?
brilliant. I play a part called Galadriel. I'm the Queen of the Elves.
Ooh, that's great. And so, do you have a lot? What do you do? Tell us a bit
It's
about
an
it.
incredible show. It's full of life. There's adventure, and there's a journey with Frodo and the ring, and something for everyone in that. And it's a brilliant adventure. Things have been on stage that many people have never seen before, and I think that's why I really wanted to be part of the show. It's a brilliant show, and you know what's so brilliant is that we're here celebrating musicals as part of our culture, and I think that's why it's really exciting that we're doing the first proms based around musicals. That's brilliant.
Superb. Now, you're very talented. Not only do you do musicals, but you've been in a film.
Yes.
You're a
Yes.
star. It's coming out this year. Tell us about
Yeah,
that.
it's coming out in December, I think. I think it maybe moved to January, but it's Sweeney Todd, and it was directed by Tim Burton, and Johnny Depp was in it, and Helena Bonham Carter, and it is a movie musical, which is another reason why it's so much fun.
And now you're going to be singing with Michael in the second half.
Yes,
We're going to
yeah.
let you go and get prepared.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck with that. You're going to
Yeah.
be fabulous.
Oh, it's
Back to you,
exciting.
Petroc.
Thank you.
Angellica, thank you very much indeed. I'm joined now by Alfie Boe, straight from the stage. Did you enjoy your Proms debut?
Fantastic, it was wonderful. Really enjoyed it.
You knelt down in supplication at the great man that is Michael
Yeah.
Ball. What is it that makes him such a wonderful entertainer?
He's just an all-round entertainer. He's great with the crowd, great with his colleagues. That's the good thing as well. Whenever you work with friends, you want to be able to have a good relationship on stage and off, and he's just like that. He's fantastic.
He touched on Kismet, which
Yeah.
you starred in together at English National Opera back in May.
Yeah.
He gave an interview to one of the papers last week where he was pretty frank about how the experience had been.
Yeah.
How was it for you?
Well, I'm working at English National Opera again, so it was
So
fantastic.
it was a great
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. No, there were a few problems, a few things that we had to tackle, but you know, every production that you do, you're going to find issues with it that you have to combat and have to deal with, and this was one of them, you know. And we got over it, and we ended up pulling off a good show, you know.
And I guess there are parallels with some of the people who have said, why is Michael Ball at the Proms, were maybe the same people who said, why is Kismet at ENO? You would argue that there's a place for musical theatre in English National Opera.
Exactly. I mean, I think music is universal. It doesn't matter what sort of style it is, I believe, you know, and it's time that the world started to join together, and that's what I want to try and do with classical music, is to take it to an audience that hasn't really experienced it that much, and Michael's doing the same with the musical theatre world, so fair play to him. I think he's doing a great job.
Tell us a bit about your story, because it's a great one. I mean, you sort of fell into singing by accident.
I did. I think the first time I was spotted was in the car factory. I worked as a car mechanic, and I was polishing a car, singing away to the radio, and a guy said you should take that up as a profession. So I auditioned for the Doyley Cart, got onto the Doyley Cart, did a national tour, then decided to train. Went to the Royal College of Music for a number of years, and then a National Opera studio. So it's been a good road. And
while you were there, you were then offered the fantastic starring role in La Bohème on Broadway, which won you a Tony. That was obviously a life-changing experience. Has that taken you in one direction, going into the music theatre route rather than doing the live opera, or is it possible to have a career doing both?
No, I think with Bohème, a lot of people asked me what was the difference with Bohème on Broadway. And the only difference was that we were doing it on Broadway. It wasn't in an opera house. It was the same language. We were singing it in Italian. The score hadn't been cut down in any way. So it was just, again, Baz Luhrmann's view of taking classical music to the masses. And that's what we all jumped on the project to do. You know.
It was partly, I guess, about getting over this fear that seems to surround opera, which I often think is half its trouble, that it presents itself as being difficult, tricky, frightening, and therefore it's always only going to reach a certain audience.
It's a shame, that really. It really is a huge shame. But when you look back at classical music and you think it was the pop music of its time, you know? Classical composers like Mozart, they were Beethoven, they were the pop musicians. You know, when Bohème first came out, he got a critic right. It was the worst piece of musical theatre ever. You know, so it was classed as musical theatre back then, La Bohème. But everything develops, everything changes, and I think that it's time to break those barriers down and just let people enjoy good music, no matter where it's from.
Well, you've done your work for the evening. You can relax now. You've got a nice seat lined up for part two.
Sorry.
Good seat lined up for part two.
Good seat lined up. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the second half. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Good. I'm looking forward to what he's going to do next. So that's fun.
Well, thank you for joining us on
Pleasure.
the night of your Proms debut, Alfie Boe. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go backstage and join Angellica once again.
I'm joined by the brilliant Mr. Michael Ball.
Oh, how sweet of you. Thank you.
You are fantastic.
Oh, that's really kind of you.
Did you go well for
I'm
you first
having
half?
a lovely time. I got the words wrong on Gethsemane, and it's my favourite song, and I was so wrapped up in the moment, I went a little bit squiffy
Was it
on
nerves, do you think?
No, I don't. I think I was caught up in the moment. And you've just told me Andrew's in.
I know. And you didn't know he was in?
I didn't, actually. I had a sneaking suspicion he would come, but it would be great. I know we'll be having a drink afterwards. Well, I hope you're enjoying it.
It's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
It's wonderful. Now, first, Prom on your own. How does that feel?
It's such a huge honour, and I'm really not taking it lightly. And there has been some controversy about me doing it, and I can, sort of understand that it's not a purist's idea of music. But this is the Prom. There is room for everybody and everything, I hope.
But why do you think there have been these criticisms?
Because people maybe don't have enough to do in their lives. And,
You're being naughty.
I don't know why. I honestly don't know why people should get that uptight about it. Because, it's a long, long festival. There are literally hundreds of concerts to go to.
Yeah.
This is just one. And it's great to experiment and do new things, to introduce different kinds of music to people. And it's also lovely to get new people to come in to the Albert Hall, into the festival, to understand how the festival works, and to maybe partake a little bit more in it. And that, I hope, will be an offshoot of this.
Do you think that what the critics say...
Excuse me, you can see I'm sweating.
No, but you're wearing a thick jacket. I'd be sweating if I was wearing that. Does it hurt when the critics say those things?
Not in the slightest, no,
You got a thick skin.
Am I bothered? Does my face look bothered? No, but am I bothered, though?
You're not bothered
Am I bothered, Angela? Angellica, am I bothered?
Be serious. Now, Andrew Lloyd Webber's in the house.
Yeah, but I'm not bothered.
Why is his music so popular?
I don't know. He has this uncanny knack. Music, as you know, is the simplest way to communicate any emotion to people. It goes straight to your heart. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. It's a universal way of talking. And he has a way of writing melodies that literally go straight to your heart.
Yeah.
And you couple his melodies with some of the finest lyrics from people like Tim Rice, from Charles Hart, from I'm coming, from Don Black.
Yes.
And you have there a very simple recipe to move a lot of people very easily. And he writes great stories. He understands how to stage things, how to tell a story with music. He's just very, very clever.
Well, I'm sure after what you said about him tonight, he'll be buying you a drink. But we're going to move on to some texts from some of your fans who've been watching. Steph in Southampton says, how does it feel tonight? Is the surrounding crowd as electric as it seems on TV?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I was very, wary when I went out. I thought, are people going to be subdued because this is traditionally a classical event? And absolutely not. People have risen to the occasion, and it's not just Michael Ball fans out there. It's people who come, I think, out of curiosity, and there's a wonderful atmosphere. I'm very lucky.
You are,
and
it's sold out as well.
It was, yeah, sold out.
Kim Downing in Dudley says, when you started out in musical theatre, did you ever dream that one day you would be here at the Albert Hall in your own prom?
Well, not in my own, but I've done my own concerts here before, but to be part of something that reverberates literally around the world watches the Proms and knows about the Proms. To have this, and for it to be such a singular honour. No one has ever been from musical theatre anyway, has been honoured in such a way with their own show. So it's something that I don't take lightly.
Yeah. Any other ambitions you'd like to achieve?
Maybe 2 nights next year. That'll wind them up, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. Gary Faulkner sent in an email. Interesting one. What do you hear in your earpiece?
There. I hear a little bit of myself, a rhythm section. What I do is I only wear, as you can see here, I only wear one.
Okay.
So I have.
Some people wear 2, don't they?
Yeah, some people are locked up. I like to hear ambient sound. I like to hear the audience. So I have a mixture of the ambient sound that's there and just a little bit of enhancement for my own voice and maybe a bit of rhythm going through there for loud, rocky numbers.
Ooh.
Of which there's one coming up.
Oh, can't wait. And Leslie says, this is the first prom I've ever watched. You are brilliant.
Oh, well, thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Watch more.
Oh.
There are great shows in the Proms.
Listen, you've been fantastic.
Thank
we
you.
know the second half is going to be just as good.
Well, fingers crossed.
And I'll let you get on.
Let me go and try and cool down.
Go and cool down.
See you in a bit.
Back
Thank
to you,
you.
Petroc.
Angellica, thank you very much. I have to say, he looks very, very relaxed backstage. Andrew Lloyd Webber is with me now in the BBC 4 box. Are you enjoying yourself tonight?
Very much, yes, absolutely.
Impresarios, musical theatre writers, people in the business like you were always looking for new talent. I wonder if you can remember the moment that Michael Ball first crossed your radar.
Well, I can actually, because he auditioned for the role of Raoul in Phantom of the Opera, having, of course, been in Les Miserables, which I'd seen him in. But I said to Cameron Mackintosh, we've got to cast him, he's absolutely fantastic. And Michael was a one-off talent from the word go.
What is it that defines that? I mean, you've experienced that a lot recently in the various TV shows, but people can dance, people can possibly act, people can sing with a good voice, but what is it about that magic thing that brings it all together in someone like Michael Ball?
It's what is star quality, isn't it? I mean, what I think Michael brings to everything is a kind of warmth and a sense of humour, because you almost get the feeling sometimes you wish it wasn't there, but he doesn't take himself that seriously. So the fact that he can make very funny jokes about Kismet tonight and what we all know in the business went on with that production is Michael Ball, and we all know that's Michael Ball, and I think that's what's fantastic about him, because he really doesn't take himself that seriously, and yet he's one of the great God-given voices of all time.
And he's a great communicator, isn't he, for musical theatre, a great advocate of the music theatre cause.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Good Lord, as these are.
Yes, a very good voice.
Absolutely. This is the voice of musical theatre as well. But no, he's terrific. And I really do believe him to be, one of the great stars that we've had out of British musical theatre, certainly in my career.
Let me ask you some questions that people have emailed us. First of all, Stephen Davis and Bury in Lancashire. I'm 13 years old and currently writing a musical, which is probably about the age you first wrote a musical, I would guess, because you started very
A little
young.
younger, actually.
Can you give any advice, a couple of sentences on
Yes,
what you should do?
absolutely. There's only one piece of advice to give, which is to get your music performed somewhere. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was done in a school in London, in West London, not very far from here. Get it performed, and then if people love it, it'll get heard again.
So it doesn't matter if it's done by a small amateur group or in a church hall or
I think
whatever.
it doesn't matter where it's done. I think the most important thing, and particularly today, with everything that's going on with the net and everything, everybody's looking for the new show. Get it performed.
Zoe Martlew, what song written by who do you wish you'd written?
Some Enchanted Evening.
Very good.
By Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Is there going to be a sequel to Phantom of the Opera, as is rumoured, apparently?
I don't know. I'm going away to write it. Try again in the next 3 or 4 days. I'm being honest, it hasn't quite happened yet.
But not out of the question.
It's not out of the question.
Anne and Mary from London, do you think people listening tonight will be introduced to music by the Proms? Will they try out the Proms? Is this a good advocate for the cause of live music?
I think everything that can happen to do with the live music is really vitally important. My brother made a fantastic point in The Observer yesterday about the Venezuelan youth orchestra that performed here at the Proms and blew everybody away. And we have got to get back, and I agree with my brother Julian hugely about this, to the whole value of what schools' music can do and the education of kids and the availability of instruments and everything to do with the learning of music in schools, because that's where it starts. That's where I started, that's where Joseph started, that's what's got to happen.
Let's go back to music theatre. Does Michael Ball represent the last or one of the last people to come through that very traditional route, drama school, regional productions, then the West End, and then become a star? Are we seeing music theatre stars created in a new way now? And of course, I'm thinking of your TV
But you're
shows.
thinking of Connie Fisher, The Sound of Music. Well, she was educated at Mount View. You're looking at Lee, who came again through a musical theatre route. I think what we're seeing is the opportunity now for young musical theatre artists to be seen on television in a way that gives them a real chance to break their careers. I think that's completely different to saying that they're all plucked from the street and are totally unknown, because they aren't necessarily. I mean, the fact is, though, that neither Connie nor Lee probably would have got to my attention through the conventional route, but they are both trained.
What about the state of the musical at the moment in this country? I mean, if you look around the West End, there are really very few original shows. There are a lot of classic shows that have come back. There are a lot of shows based on songs by Queen or ABBA or Buddy Holly. I mean, do you think a new musical that comes out of the blue would now, in this tough commercial world, have a chance of surviving in the West End?
Difficult to answer. I don't know what would have happened if Evita had come on stage today. In fact, we had a revival of Evita, which was incredibly well reviewed last year, with a great star, Eleanor Roger, and it only ran a year. I don't know. And it's a very, very difficult one to say. On the other hand, the great sensation that's happened in the United States has been this musical called Once, made for very little money in Dublin. And Steven Spielberg says it's one of the greatest experiences he's seen in the cinema this year, and it's suddenly taking a huge amount of money. I've not seen it, but I'm told that it's a completely new way of looking at musicals. So you can never really say that musicals are going to be dead or in one form or alive or whatever. They're always going to be fun. Somebody will find a new way of doing them.
And I guess it's finding the right way of getting to a new audience as well. You tried it with Bombay Dreams very successfully and got a whole new audience.
Yes, I got a new audience there. But I'm very fascinated about this movie. If somebody can make a movie for €100,000 and it suddenly takes $20 million in the United States, you want to know about it, don't you?
Well, let's look back over the history of musical theatre now. Callum MacLeod back on stage to conduct the BBC Concert Orchestra as we continue our Proms evening with Michael Ball.